Hallucigenia, the walking fever dream. If you designed an animal while half asleep and upside down, you'd get hallucigenia. It lived over 500 million years ago, and it looked like a worm wearing high heels, with spikes on its back and a face scientists originally thought was its butt. For decades, paleontologists literally reconstructed it backwards and upside down. Only recently did they figure out which end was the head, and even then, the face looks like a doodle a bored kid would make in math class. This thing is so strange, its name literally means hallucination. Nature said, let's make an animal, but make it look like a glitch in an old PlayStation game. Dunkleosteus, the chainsaw-faced fish. Imagine a fish the size of a bus, covered in armor, with a jaw that works like two giant guillotines. That's Dunkleosteus, a 360 million year old fish that basically invented the jump scare. Instead of teeth, it had sharp bony plates like built-in scissors, creating a bite force strong enough to slice prey in half. It could even open its mouth so fast it created suction that vacuumed prey straight in. Think of it as the Dyson of Devonian seas, except instead of cleaning crumbs, it vacuumed your entire existence. Arthropleura, the millipede from hell. Ever seen a little millipede in your garden? Now, imagine one the size of a car tire. That's Arthropleura, a 2.5-meter long millipede crawling through Carboniferous forests 300 million years ago. The good news? It ate plants? The bad news? It still existed. Picture walking through a forest, and this armored noodle slides by like it's late for a meeting. That's when humanity collectively decided to invent shoes and fire. Helicoprion, the buzzsaw shark. If Tim Burton designed a shark, you'd get Helicoprion. Instead of normal teeth, it had a bizarre spiral-shaped lower jaw filled with rows of teeth like a circular saw. For years, scientists had no idea what this tooth whirl was for, or even where it went. Some early drawings put it on the shark's back like a buzzsaw fin. Turns out, it worked like an internal sushi slicer, perfect for cutting squid and fish. Imagine being its prey. 1 second you're swimming, the next you're sashimi. Opabinia, the five-eyed vacuum cleaner. If you thought one face was enough, Opabinia disagrees. It had 5 eyes and a long vacuum hose-like trunk ending in a claw. Basically, it looked like nature was trying to make a shrimp, then rage quit halfway through. Opabinia used its claw snorkel to grab food and shove it into its mouth like a flexible chopstick. Scientists literally laughed when they first reconstructed it because it looked so ridiculous. Meganeura, the bird-sized dragonfly. Dragonflies today? Cute. Dragonflies 300 million years ago? 2.5-foot wingspan death machines. Meganeura was huge because oxygen levels back then were sky high, letting bugs grow massive. Imagine a bug landing on your shoulder and you're like, did a bird just land on me? Basically, Meganeura was the original helicopter drone. Thylacine, the cartoon jaw dog. The thylacine, or Tasmanian tiger, looked like a dog, but with stripes like a tiger and a jaw that could open 120 degrees wide. It was technically a marsupial, which means it carried its babies in a pouch, like a kangaroo mixed with a wolf mixed with... What even is this? Sadly, it was hunted to extinction by the 1930s, and now people swear they still see them in Tasmania, kind of like Bigfoot, but with better evidence and worse PR. Megalodon, the shark that ate whales for breakfast. Great white sharks scare people today, but Megalodon makes great whites look like goldfish. It grew up to 60 feet long and had teeth the size of your hand. It literally preyed on whales like they were chicken nuggets. Megalodon is why whales probably have anxiety in their DNA. Scientists think it went extinct due to cooling oceans and competition, but let's be honest, if Megalodon was still around, half the population would refuse to go near the ocean, ever. Brontoscorpio, the sea scorpion with attitude. Brontoscorpio was a giant sea scorpion, about 1 meter long, with pincers like bolt cutters and a stinger that could ruin your day. The worst part? It could walk on land. That means ancient shorelines had scorpions the size of Labradors just hanging out. Nope, just nope. Andrewsarchus, The "what even are you" beast. Discovered in Mongolia, Andrewsarchus looked like a wolf crossed with a pig and then supersized to rhino proportions. Its skull alone was 3 feet long, and its jaw could crush bones like potato chips. Scientists still argue about what it was related to: wolves, hippos, or maybe nightmares. Titanoboa, the Jurassic Park reject. Snakes are already divisive. You either think they're cool or you move houses if one shows up in your yard. Now imagine a 42-foot-long snake weighing over a ton. That was Titanoboa, which appeared after the dinosaurs died out. It likely spent its days lurking in swamps, silently waiting for something to wander too close, and then constricting it with the power of a freight train. Crocodiles? Snacks? People? Lucky we weren't around. Pikaia, your awkward ancestor. Pikaia was one of the first chordates, meaning it's technically one of our distant ancestors. It looked like a squiggly eel with tiny tentacles and no obvious features, but it had the beginnings of a backbone. Without Pikaia, you wouldn't be here. So if anyone ever says you're weird looking, just say, it runs in the family. Quetzalcoatlus, the flying giraffe. With a wingspan of 36 feet, Quetzalcoatlus was basically a flying giraffe. It walked on all fours like a demonic heron and likely fed on small dinosaurs. Some scientists think it could launch itself into the air like a giant bat. Others think it had to jump off cliffs like Batman. Either way, imagine looking up and seeing a giraffe-sized shadow flying overhead. Terrifying. Wintotherium, the vegan tank. Wintotherium looked like a rhino, but with 6 weird bony knobs on its head and giant saber teeth, even though it ate plants. It's like it evolved an entire medieval weapons set and then said, "Don't worry, I'm vegan." Glyptodon, the armored car that eats grass. Think armadillo, then add a literal tank shell and make it car-sized. That's Glyptodon. They were so armored that predators likely didn't bother, and their tails had spiked clubs that could shatter bones. Herbivore, yes, but also an ancient wrecking ball on legs. Anomalocaris, the shrimp UFO. Anomalocaris was an early ocean predator with grabbing appendages and a circular mouth lined with teeth like a pineapple slicer. It grew up to 3 feet long, making it the great white shark of its time. It swam fast and ate trilobites, which back then were basically the cockroaches of the ocean. Scientists agree it looked like an alien spaceship built by shrimp. Diprotodon, the uber wombat. Diprotodon was the largest marsupial ever, basically a wombat the size of a small car. It grazed in ancient Australia, and yes, people probably tried to ride it. Did it let them? Probably not. It weighed over 2 tons and could probably crush you just by sitting down too fast. Elasmosaurus, the Loch Ness prototype. Elasmosaurus was a marine reptile with a neck 46 feet long. That's longer than some buses. It likely used its long neck to sneak up on schools of fish while keeping its massive body out of sight. If Nessie were real, this would be its great-great-grandparent. Xenacanthus, the freshwater eel shark. A prehistoric freshwater shark with an eel-like body and a weird spine on its head that pointed backward like a unicorn horn gone wrong. It survived for over 200 million years, proving looking weird sometimes works. Macrauchenia, the camel that wasn't. Macrauchenia had the body of a camel, the neck of a llama, and a short trunk like a tapir. It looked like an animal designed by committee. Scientists still aren't sure what it's related to, but it definitely would have been meme material today. Dodecurus, the spiky wrecking ball. Related to Glyptodon, Dodecurus had a huge armored tail ending in a spiked club the size of a bowling ball. It probably used it to defend itself and maybe even fight other Dodecurus like medieval knights. Megalania, the Komodo dragon's buff cousin. Megalania was a giant monitor lizard from Australia, over 20 feet long and likely venomous. Basically, a Komodo dragon on steroids. If humans were around, meeting one would be a very short and terrifying experience. Ambulocetus, the walking whale. Ambulocetus was basically a crocodile-sized early whale with legs. It could walk on land and swim, proving whales started life as beach tourists before going full aquatic. Terror birds, the apex chickens. For millions of years after the dinosaurs, giant flightless terror birds ruled South America. They were 10 feet tall, fast runners, and had hooked beaks that could crush skulls. They looked like someone modded an ostrich in a video game and turned off gravity limits. Arctotherium angustidens, the bearzilla of South America. If you think grizzlies are scary, meet Arctotherium angustidens, the largest bear to ever walk the earth. Fossils found in Argentina suggest males weighed over 3,500 pounds and stood up to 12 feet tall when rearing. Unlike modern bears, which are omnivores, Arctotherium was mostly carnivorous. With teeth the size of kitchen knives, it could crush bones and chase down prey. Picture a grizzly bear that's also a bulldozer. Why should it stay extinct? Because modern South America is already stressful enough with jaguars, anacondas, and caimans. Imagine hiking in Patagonia and realizing there's a skyscraper-sized bear waiting to flip your car like a soda can. Basically, Winnie the Pooh if he hit the gym for 20,000 years and decided honey was for losers. Haast's eagle, the murder bird of New Zealand. New Zealand is famous for flightless birds, but it used to have their worst nightmare. Haast's eagle. With a wingspan of 10 feet and talons the size of tiger claws, this eagle preyed on giant moa birds. And, according to Maori legends, sometimes humans. It didn't swoop down and peck. It hit prey at 50 miles per hour, smashing bones on impact before finishing with talons that could puncture a pelvis. Fossil evidence shows moa skeletons with shattered hips from eagle strikes. Why should it stay extinct? Because if golden eagles already spook hikers in the Rockies, imagine one twice the size eyeing up your toddler at a picnic. Think of it as a flying velociraptor with feathers, Jurassic Park with wings. Joseph Ortegacia monesi, the rodent king. Meet the world's largest rodent, Joseph Ortegacia monesi. Fossils found in Uruguay suggest it was the size of a bull, weighing up to 2,000 pounds. Yes, this was a guinea pig the size of a car. It had massive chisel teeth for slicing vegetation, but scientists think it could also use its jaws like a defensive weapon, strong enough to bite through bone. Why should it stay extinct? Because cities already struggle with rats. Now, imagine sewer systems clogged by rodents the size of hippos. Forget pest control. We'd need artillery. Camaracaras, the tentacle nightmare. During the Ordovician period, oceans were ruled by camaracaras, a giant straight-shelled cephalopod up to 30 feet long. Imagine a squid with a cone shell, lurking and grabbing prey with tentacles. Why should it stay extinct? Because modern squids already scare divers. Add a school bus-sized cone squid, and beaches would close permanently. It's the OG kraken. Greek myths didn't need to invent one. Camaracaras already existed. Megalania prisca, Australia's dragon. Australia today has crocodiles, snakes, and spiders, but 40,000 years ago, it had something worse. Megalania, a giant monitor lizard up to 23 feet long and weighing over 1,000 pounds. Closely related to the Komodo dragon, Megalania likely carried venom in its saliva, causing blood loss and shock in prey. Aboriginal Australians may have even encountered it, which explains some terrifying Dreamtime stories of land crocodiles. Why should it stay extinct? Because modern Australia doesn't need another predator. Imagine road signs. Caution. Kangaroos next 5 miles. Also, 20-foot dragons. It's Smaug, but dumber and with worse dental hygiene. Giganticus, King Kong's cousin. About 300,000 years ago, Southeast Asia was home to Gigantopithecus, a 10-foot-tall, 1,200-pound ape. Its fossilized jaws suggest it ate bamboo, but its sheer size would have made it intimidating. Some cryptid fans think it inspired legends of Bigfoot and the Yeti, but science says it was real, a skyscraper gorilla wandering Asian forests. Why should it stay extinct? Because orangutans already break into fruit farms. Now imagine an ape that can bench press your car raiding your banana stash. It was literally King Kong, but without the Hollywood romance subplot. Thylacoleo carnifex, the marsupial lion. Forget kangaroos. Ancient Australia had Thylacoleo, a marsupial predator built like a lion. It weighed 250 pounds, had semi-opposable thumbs with blade-like claws, and jaws that delivered one of the most powerful bites relative to body size in mammal history. It ambushed prey like a cat, but had a bizarre kangaroo-like body. Fossil claw marks in caves suggest it dragged victims up trees. Why should it stay extinct? Because Australia already has dingoes. Add marsupial lions, and outback camping trips would be suicide missions. Imagine if a koala decided it hated you personally and trained in MMA. Diodon shoshanensis, the hell pig. Nicknamed the hell pig, Diodon wasn't a pig at all, but an entelodont, a nightmarish mammal with a massive skull, bone-crushing jaws, and hooves. It stood 6 feet tall at the shoulder and weighed up to 2,000 pounds. Fossil evidence suggests it was both predator and scavenger, bullying other animals off carcasses. Its teeth were adapted for crushing bone, and it likely terrorized plains like a tusked, demonic cow. Why should it stay extinct? Because wild boars already cause chaos. A 2,000-pound hell pig would make highways undrivable. Basically, Pumbaa from The Lion King if he joined a biker gang from hell. Purosaurus, the crocodile king. About 8 million years ago, South America had Purosaurus, a giant caiman 40 feet long and weighing 8 tons. Its bite force was one of the strongest in Earth's history, estimated at 15,500 pounds, enough to crush a car. It ruled wetlands, eating anything that moved: fish, mammals, birds, maybe even other crocodiles. Why should it stay extinct? Because the Amazon is dangerous enough without a reptile that could swallow a canoe whole. The final boss version of Crocodile Dundee's That's Not a Croc. Spinosaurus, the river monster. The largest carnivorous dinosaur ever found, Spinosaurus could grow over 50 feet long, outclassing T-Rex. It had crocodile jaws, massive claws, and a sail on its back. Fossils suggest it was semi-aquatic, hunting fish, and maybe ambushing land prey. Why should it stay extinct? Because hippos already kill 500 people a year. Imagine if rivers also contained 50-foot dinosaur crocs. Fishing trips would be a death wish. Jurassic Park 3 exaggerated it, but honestly, the real Spinosaurus didn't need Hollywood's help. Utahraptor, the real raptor. Velociraptors in Jurassic Park were terrifying, but real velociraptors were turkey-sized. The real nightmare was Utahraptor, a raptor 20 feet long with 9-inch killing claws. Hunting in packs, Utahraptors could have taken down animals the size of rhinos. Their agility and intelligence made them some of the deadliest predators ever. Why should it stay extinct? Because coyotes already give farmers headaches. Now, imagine packs of turbocharged murder birds waiting outside Walmart. Basically, Jurassic Park's raptors, but supersized and scientifically accurate. Megapiranha, the super piranha. About 10 million years ago, South American rivers were home to Megapiranha, a 3-foot-long ancestor of today's piranhas. Bite force reconstructions suggest it could crush bones with 1,000 pounds of pressure, rivaling sharks. Why should it stay extinct? Because people already panic at modern piranhas, which are 1/10 the size. Add megapiranhas, and no one would ever swim again. Basically Sharknado, but freshwater edition. Smilodon, the saber-tooth cat. Smilodon, the famous saber-tooth cat, weighed up to 800 pounds and had canines 7 inches long. It hunted large Ice Age mammals, probably in packs. Why should it stay extinct? Because lions already killed dozens each year in Africa. Add saber-tooths, and every national park safari would end in tragedy. Imagine your house cat. Now give it swords for teeth and the personality of a biker gang. Megatherium americanum, the giant sloth. Megatherium was a ground sloth the size of an elephant living in South America. It looked slow, but fossils suggest it could stand 20 feet tall and swipe with claws longer than your hand. Why should it stay extinct? Because modern sloths are adorable tree huggers. Giant sloths would flip cars looking for salad. Sid from Ice Age, if he joined WWE. Platybelodon, the chainsaw elephant. Platybelodon was an elephant relative with a shovel-shaped lower jaw tipped with tusks. It used its bizarre mouth to strip vegetation like a giant lawnmower. Why should it stay extinct? Because one wrong swing and it'd bulldoze a pickup truck. Basically, an elephant designed in Minecraft creative mode. Therizinosaurus, the Edward Scissorhands dino. This dinosaur from Cretaceous Mongolia had claws up to 3 feet long. the longest of any land animal ever. It probably ate plants, but those claws could shred predators or unlucky humans. Why should it stay extinct? Because even a gentle Therizinosaurus could accidentally fill at you while reaching for a fern. Edward Scissorhands, but 20 feet tall and feathered. Leviathan, the killer whale on steroids. About 12 million years ago, oceans were home to Leviathan, a sperm whale relative with 40-foot length and 14-inch teeth, the largest of any known animal. Unlike modern sperm whales, it hunted other whales. Why should it stay extinct? Because orcas are already terrifying. Leviathan would make great whites look like sardines. Biblical Leviathan was probably named after this beast. Enough said. Rhamphorhynchus, the croc beak flyer, a smaller Jurassic pterosaur. Rhamphorhynchus had a beak lined with needle teeth and a diamond-shaped tail vein for precision flight. It hunted fish with terrifying accuracy. Why should it stay extinct? Because modern beaches already have gulls stealing fries. Now, picture pterosaurs dive-bombing fishermen and spearing them by accident. Basically, a flying nightmare dart. Barreleye fish, the transparent-headed spy. At first glance, the barreleye fish looks like it escaped from a badly rendered 2004 video game cutscene. Its body is small, its fins are dainty, but the real showstopper is the giant, transparent, dome-shaped head. And yes, you can see its eyes inside. Two green, barrel-shaped orbs stare straight upward most of the time. Discovered in 1939, barreleye fish live around 600 to 800 meters down, in that awkward twilight zone where sunlight still exists, but only enough to make things creepier. For decades, scientists thought the fish's eyes were fixed permanently upwards, forcing it to swim like some tragic goldfish always looking for God. But in 2009, a live specimen revealed it could rotate its eyes forward like a submarine periscope when it wanted to track prey. Those eyes are tuned for spotting the silhouettes of tiny animals drifting above, usually the unfortunate victims of jellyfish. Barreleyes have mastered the art of food theft, hovering below jellies to snatch trapped prey without actually touching the jellyfish tentacles. Their transparent heads are filled with fluid, protecting the eyes and letting light pass through without distortion, like living camera domes. Imagine being a shrimp, thinking you're having a bad day because you got stuck in jellyfish goo, and then a clear-headed alien shows up, stares at you from inside its own skull, and eats you. The deep sea does not care about your feelings. Yeti crab, the furry-armed hydrothermal hipster. Meet Kiwa hirsuta, better known as the Yeti crab, discovered in 2005 near Easter Island. At first sight, you might think it's wearing knitted sleeves. Its pincers and legs are covered in silky, pale fur. But these are not for fashion. These strange hairs are actually seedy coated with bacteria, which the Yeti crab farms like an undersea hipster running a craft microbrewery. It positions itself near toxic hydrothermal vents. Think underwater volcano chimneys belching hot, mineral-rich water, and waves its hairy arms in the chemical soup. The bacteria feast on the vent chemicals, and in turn, the Yeti crab eats the bacteria. It's like if you had a beard that grew sourdough starter and you just ate from it daily. Convenient? Yes. Horrifying? Also yes. Oddly enough, Yeti crabs don't even have eyes, probably because they spend their lives in pitch-black environments where light is useless. They're perfectly adapted to thrive in conditions that would kill almost anything else. Scalding water, extreme pressure, and toxic chemicals. And they don't just farm food, they also farm oxygen access. By waving their claws, they keep water flowing over the bacteria, boosting the bacteria's oxygen intake, which helps them grow faster. This is the crab equivalent of shaking a soda bottle to make it fizzier, except the fizz is your dinner. Pelican eel, the nightmarish slinky with a net for a face. If the ocean had a version of Jump Scare, the pelican eel would be it. This thing lives 500 to 3,000 meters down and looks like someone badly photoshopped an eel, a kite, and a shopping net together. It gets its name from the enormous expandable mouth, which can open wide enough to swallow prey larger than itself. Its jaw is hinged far back, So when it opens up, the head essentially becomes a living fishing net. The inside is lined with a loose pouch-like skin, letting it gulp up large amounts of water and food in one go. Kind of like if a snake swallowed a beanbag chair full of sardines. The body is thin and whip-like, with a disproportionately tiny tail fin at the very end. And that tail tip, it glows. Yep, pelican eels use bioluminescence to lure prey right into their giant mouth bag. Its diet is varied. Small fish, squid, crustaceans, but given its bizarre anatomy, it's less of an active hunter and more of an ambush vacuum cleaner, opening wide when anything edible gets too close. Scientists have found them with stomachs stuffed so full that they looked pregnant, which is the ocean's version of ordering 300 nuggets just to be safe. Deep-sea anglerfish, the living lantern with a horrifying love life. You've probably seen the anglerfish in Finding Nemo, but real ones are way worse. The females sport a long, thin lure, the elysium, tipped with a glowing bulb to attract prey. Inside that bulb, bacteria that produce light. Probably the most sinister roommate situation in the animal kingdom. These fish are the ultimate definition of sit-and-wait predators. They float in darkness, dangle their glowing bait, and snap their enormous jaws shut when curious fish swim up. Their teeth curve inward, making escape almost impossible. But their mating habits are the real horror. Males are tiny compared to females, often just a few centimeters long. When they find a female, they bite onto her and never let go. Over time, their bodies fuse together, the male's organs wither away except for the testes, and they basically become a permanent sperm bank attached to her body. It's convenient for reproduction, but deeply cursed for romance. So if you're a male anglerfish, your best-case scenario is becoming a parasitic lump on your girlfriend forever. And your worst-case scenario, you don't find a female, and you just die in the dark, alone. Giant siphonophore, the 130-foot death rope. Imagine a jellyfish. Now, imagine 300 jellyfish glued together into a single colony organism that acts like one massive predator. That's a siphonophore. And the largest of them, the giant siphonophore, can reach an estimated 130 feet long. That's longer than a blue whale, making it one of the longest animals on the planet. But here's the twist. A siphonophore isn't one animal. It's a colony made up of hundreds to thousands of genetically identical units called zooids, each specialized for a different job. Some zooids are in charge of stinging and capturing prey. Others are designed for digestion. Still others handle propulsion. The whole creature drifts as a coordinated murder ribbon. When a siphonophore spreads its curtain of tentacles, it creates an almost invisible minefield in the water. Tiny fish and crustaceans blunder into the stinging cells and are paralyzed instantly, then reeled in and fed into the collective digestive system. If the ocean had a multiplayer boss fight, this would be it. One body, many modules, all working together to ruin your day. Deepsteria jelly, the living underwater trash bag. Discovered in the 1960s, the Deepsteria jelly is a deep-sea jellyfish so strange it doesn't even look like a jellyfish most of the time. Instead of the classic bell shape, it resembles a vast, delicate, undulating sheet of translucent skin, like a ghostly plastic bag drifting through the water. Deepsteria has no tentacles to catch prey. Instead, it envelops anything unlucky enough to drift too close, trapping it inside its massive bell like a net closing over a fish. Then, the trapped victim gets pressed against the jelly's digestive lining until it stops moving. Its structure is so delicate that for decades, scientists barely knew anything about it. Most attempts to capture or even touch a Deepsteria ended with it tearing apart. Today, most sightings come from deep-sea submersibles, which record their hypnotic rippling movements. In the deep sea, where light barely exists, watching a Deepsteria drift by is equal parts beautiful and unsettling. It's like seeing a bedsheet ghost from a horror movie slowly float toward you, only this one digests you afterward. Vampire squid, the drama queen of the deep. The vampire squid, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, literally vampire squid from hell, is not actually a bloodsucker. In fact, it doesn't hunt at all. It eats marine snow, tiny bits of dead stuff, poop, and organic debris drifting down from above. But its appearance? Pure nightmare fuel. It has deep red skin, enormous blue eyes, and webbing between its arms that can be flipped inside out to form a dark cloak. When threatened, it pulls this cloak over itself, hiding its vulnerable head and displaying rows of soft, fleshy spines. A don't mess with me pose straight out of a Tim Burton movie. And instead of squirting ink like most cephalopods, the vampire squid fires off glowing mucus bombs full of bioluminescent particles, creating a shimmering distraction cloud while it escapes. This is less smoke bomb and more glitter explosion. Imagine getting mugged by a goth who blinds you with sequins. Hydrothermal vent, tube worms, the chimney dwellers. In 1977, scientists exploring the Galapagos Rift stumbled upon one of the most alien ecosystems on Earth. Hydrothermal vents, towering chimneys spewed hot, mineral-rich water into the freezing ocean, and there, clustered like bloody candles, were giant tube worms, Riftia pachyptila, up to 8 feet tall. They have no mouths, no stomachs, and no digestive system at all. Instead, they rely on symbiotic bacteria living inside their bodies that convert toxic hydrogen sulfide from the vents into nutrients, a process called chemosynthesis. In short, they eat poison gas for a living. Their bright red plumes aren't just for looks, they're filled with hemoglobin, which binds both oxygen and sulfides to feed their bacterial tenants. The worms themselves are encased in chitin tubes, anchored to the vent chimney like creepy organ pipes. If aliens ever visit and ask to see Earth's strangest neighborhood, we're taking them here first. Sea spiders, the spindly vacuum cleaners. Sea spiders, also called pycnogonids, look like nightmare fuel from a B-grade sci-fi flick. They're not true spiders, but arthropods with long, thin legs and a tiny central body that's mostly just a digestive system. Many species live in the deep sea, where they creep along the seafloor feeding on soft-bodied animals like sea anemones. They pierce their prey with a proboscis and suck out the insides like they're drinking a Capri Sun. Here's the extra weird part. Because their bodies are so small, their organs, and in some cases, even their reproductive organs, extend into their legs. Yes, they literally store bits of themselves in their limbs. Losing a leg isn't just inconvenient, it's potentially catastrophic. Osedax, the bone-eating zombie worm. If the deep sea is the planet's weirdest museum, the Osedax worm is its janitor, also called bone-eating snotworms. These bright pink, root-like creatures colonize the skeletons of dead whales that sink to the seafloor. The worms bore into the bones with acid and grow root-like structures that house bacteria capable of digesting fats and proteins locked inside. Males never leave the larval stage. They live permanently inside the females, acting as little more than reproductive tissue. It's essentially a harem of microscopic husbands living in a single giant wife. When a whale carcass drops, hundreds of Osedax worms can sprout in days, turning the bone field into a macabre coral garden. It's gross. It's beautiful. It's nature. Bathynomus giganteus, the giant isopod. If you've ever seen a pillbug or roly-poly, you've met the giant isopod's tiny cousin. But deep in the ocean, these crustaceans grow up to 2.5 feet long. They patrol the seafloor scavenging on fish, squid, and whale carcasses, and can survive months without eating, possibly years, by slowing their metabolism. With their armored shells and dead-eyed stare, giant isopods look like props from Alien. In fact, if you put one in your living room, people might ask if it's mechanical. Plesiosaurs, the long-necked legends. Meet the plesiosaurs, the OG Loch Ness monsters. These marine reptiles look like someone combined a turtle, a crocodile, and a swan, then forgot to stop. With 4 powerful flippers and necks so long they looked like giraffes in scuba gear, plesiosaurs were built for ambush. Some stretched up to 40 feet long, with necks that could snake through schools of fish. Imagine chilling in prehistoric waters, and suddenly A tiny head on a 15-foot neck darts out like a horror movie jump scare. That's plesiosaurs. Their long necks gave them options. Approach prey from odd angles, snap sideways without moving their body, or lurk below and poke up like a nightmare periscope. It's also why some modern cryptid hunters insist Nessie is a surviving plesiosaur. Spoiler, Nessie is not. But if she was, you'd never go swimming in Scotland again. Plesiosaurs weren't the fastest swimmers compared to sharks, but their flippers let them fly underwater with incredible precision. Think 4 giant oars propelling a scaly submarine. If you were a fish, you had no chance. By the time you saw that creepy head, your day was over. So yeah, plesiosaurs were the legends of the sea, and if Nessie is their PR agent, she's been doing one hell of a job. Tanystropheus hydroides, the giraffe of the sea. If plesiosaurs had long necks, Tanystropheus said, "That's cute." Hold my kelp. This Triassic reptile looked like a crocodile somebody stretched in Photoshop. Its neck was longer than the rest of its body combined, about 10 feet of vertebrae strung together like a nightmare accordion. Scientists still argue how this thing even worked. Some say it lurked in shallow lagoons, holding its long neck out like a fishing pole to snatch unsuspecting prey. Others think it slithered its head into schools of fish and snapped sideways before anyone noticed. Either way, with a body shaped like, oops, all neck, it was one of evolution's weirdest experiments. Its neck bones were so heavy and stiff that Tanystropheus probably couldn't bend them much. Picture trying to sneak up on fish with a rigid broomstick for a neck. Not exactly graceful, but hey, it survived millions of years, so who's laughing now? At full length, it stretched nearly 20 feet, which is impressive until you realize half of that was neck. Imagine living your whole life basically as a reptilian giraffe on vacation. Tanystropheus wasn't the scariest predator, but it was definitely the strangest. If you saw one today, you'd either scream in terror or assume someone left a rejected Pokemon in the ocean. Habelia optata, the crab-lobster mystery. Next up, Habelia optata, a creature from 500 million years ago that looks like a crab, a lobster, and a nightmare had a baby. It was small, but covered in spines, with way too many legs and jaws designed for crunching hard shells. Some paleontologists think it was an ancestor to modern crabs and lobsters, but honestly, it looks like something you'd find lurking in a seafood restaurant dumpster. Habelia thrived during the Cambrian explosion, a time when evolution was basically throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what worked. Spiny armor? Check extra legs? Sure. Weird, gnashing mouth parts? Why not? It probably scavenged as much as it hunted, crawling across ancient seafloors like the garbage truck of the ocean. And, let's be real, if you saw one skitter across your living room floor today, you'd burn the house down. Lyrirapax unguispinus, the alien shrimp. If Habelia was weird, Lyrirapax said, "Hold my exoskeleton." This beast swam 520 million years ago, armed with grasping claw-like appendages and a circular, spiky mouth. Imagine a shrimp crossed with a facehugger from Alien, and you're halfway there. It belonged to a group called radiodonts, some of the earliest apex predators. Fossils show it had a brain structure strikingly similar to modern arthropods, meaning this wasn't just a dumb shrimp, it was an efficient little hunter. It would cruise ancient seas, grab prey with its spiny claws, and funnel it straight into its nightmare mouth. Scientists say it grew about 3 feet long, which doesn't sound scary until you remember everything else alive at the time was basically worm-sized. To a Cambrian critter, Lyrirapax was the final boss. Basically, it's proof that shrimp used to be terrifying before we decided to dip them in cocktail sauce. Mosasaurs, the apex predators. If you've seen Jurassic World, you already know mosasaurs, those giant lizards that make sharks look like appetizers. These marine reptiles grew over 50 feet long, with flippers, tails like crocodiles, and mouths big enough to swallow a dolphin whole. They were the apex predators of the late Cretaceous, eating fish, turtles, ammonites, and even other mosasaurs. Because when you're the biggest in the ocean, your only rival is your cousin. Their most horrifying feature? A second set of jaws hidden in the throat, just like the xenomorph from Alien. These jaws yanked prey deeper into the gullet, making escape impossible. Mosasaurs were so dominant that when they showed up, they practically bullied ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs into extinction. Imagine a Komodo dragon crossed with a T-Rex, juiced up with flippers, and turbocharged for the ocean. That was a mosasaur. If sharks give you nightmares, be glad mosasaurs went extinct 65 million years ago. Because if they didn't, humans never would have invented boats. Placodont's, the shell crushers. After all that chaos, let's meet the ocean's chill monsters, the placodont's. Think prehistoric sea turtles, but instead of nibbling lettuce, they crunched shellfish with molar-like teeth. Placodont's had wide, flat bodies, sometimes even armored shells, and jaws designed for cracking open clams, mussels, and anything with a shell. They'd just mosey along the seafloor, hoovering up mollusks like a prehistoric vacuum cleaner. They weren't scary to humans, unless you were an oyster. Then placodont's were your personal apocalypse. Some species developed shells so thick they looked like floating tanks. Imagine a reptile with the vibe of a panda, but the jaw strength of a nutcracker on steroids. Cute? Yes. Terrifying if you're a clam? Absolutely. Sea scorpions, eurypterids. Arachnophobia, the ocean edition. If spiders and scorpions freak you out, congratulations. The ocean had worse. Eurypterids, or sea scorpions, were giant arthropods that grew up to 8 feet long. That's taller than most people. They looked like armored scorpions on steroids, with massive claws for snatching prey and paddle-like limbs for swimming. Picture walking into shallow water and seeing a sofa-sized scorpion glide toward you like it owns the place. That's eurypterids. Some species were ambush predators, lying in wait before lunging at fish. Others may have hunted in groups, because apparently one sofa scorpion wasn't enough nightmare fuel. The good news? They went extinct around 250 million years ago. The bad news? They were once the dominant predators in Earth's waters. If they still existed, none of us would ever set foot in a swimming pool again. So yeah, spiders in your house are annoying. But sea scorpions? They were proof that the ocean doesn't need to be deep to scare you. Sometimes the monsters were waiting in knee-deep water. Saccharidus coronarius, the blob grandparent of all. At first glance, Saccharidus looks harmless. A tiny, wrinkly blob about 1 millimeter long. But here's the wild part. It might be one of the earliest known ancestors of humans. Yep, you come from a blob with one hole. It lived 540 million years ago and had a big mouth, no anus, and little pores around its body that probably evolved into gills. Which means every meal went in and out the same way. Efficient? Maybe. Gross? Absolutely. Scientists think Saccharidus is part of the Deuterostem family tree, which eventually led to everything from starfish to us. So next time you're feeling fancy and evolved, remember, your great-great-great-great-grandparent was a wrinkly sea bean with one hole. Evolution had to start somewhere. Unfortunately, it started with this. Ichthyosaurs, dolphin imposters of doom. At first glance, ichthyosaurs look friendly, like prehistoric dolphins. But don't be fooled. These reptiles were apex predators disguised as cute sea mammals. They were streamlined, fast, and some grew over 60 feet long. Their jaws were lined with sharp teeth perfect for catching fish, squid, and even other marine reptiles. Imagine a dolphin, but instead of smiling at you, it's calculating how many bites it would take to eat you whole. Even creepier, fossil evidence shows some ichthyosaurs gave live birth in the water, captured in fossils mid-delivery. That's right, we have Jurassic baby photos of reptilian dolphin wannabes. For millions of years, they ruled the seas, until mosasaurs showed up and said, "Move over, nerds." But while they lasted, ichthyosaurs were basically the Formula One race cars of the ocean, sleek, fast, and terrifying if you were in their way. Tully monsters, the Illinois enigma. Now we head to Illinois, where the state fossil is the Tully monster. And, oh boy, is it a monster? This 300-million-year-old creature had a torpedo-shaped body, eyes sticking out on stalks like a crab, and a long proboscis ending in a claw-like mouth. Imagine a vacuum cleaner with grabby tongs and a bad attitude. That's a Tully monster. For decades, nobody knew what it was. Worm? Mollusk? Alien? Scientists now think it was a vertebrate, related to lampreys, but honestly, it's still confusing. Its fossils are so bizarre, they look like doodles a bored student made in science class. If you were a fish back then, seeing a Tully monster swim at you must have been horrifying. It's the prehistoric version of a UFO sighting. You know it's real, but you can't explain what you're looking at. Odontocheles semitestacea, the half-shell pioneer. Ever wondered how turtles got their shells? Meet Odontocheles, the 220-million-year-old half-shelled turtle ancestor. Unlike modern turtles, it had teeth. Yes, biting turtles once existed, and only a partial shell, a hardened plastron on its belly, but no full carapace on its back. Basically, it was a turtle wearing half of its armor. This weird transitional form shows how turtles evolved their iconic design. But in the water, Odontocheles probably looked like a cursed lizard in a crop top. Its half-shell may have helped protect its underside from predators, while leaving its back exposed. Practical? Not really. But evolution was clearly in its testing phase. So yes, at one point in history, turtles were half-finished, and Odontocheles is living proof that even nature ships beta versions before the final release. Typhlosis whalesi, the alien goldfish. Nicknamed the alien goldfish, Typhlosis was a weird, jellyfish-like creature that baffled scientists. It lived 300 million years ago and grew about 10 centimeters long. Its body was soft and squishy, with no clear skeleton or shell. For decades, paleontologists had no clue where it fit on the evolutionary tree. Some thought it was a worm. Others thought it was a mollusk. At one point, someone even suggested it was its own unique phylum, the biological equivalent of "we give up." What makes it extra strange is that fossils show it might have had a gut full of conodonts, tiny, eel-like creatures with sharp teeth. So this squishy blob was out there eating toothy predators for lunch. Typhlosis is proof that sometimes evolution makes something so weird, even 300 million years later, we still don't know what the hell it was supposed to be. Basilosaurus? The misnamed whale king. Basilosaurus means king lizard, but plot twist, it was actually a whale. A massive 60-foot-long early whale with terrifying teeth. Unlike today's filter-feeding blue whales, Basilosaurus was a carnivore. It hunted fish, sharks, and possibly even smaller whales. Imagine an eel-shaped whale with jaws designed for chomping. That was Basilosaurus. It also still had tiny hind limbs, useless for walking, but a creepy reminder of its land-dwelling ancestors. Picture a giant sea monster with little vestigial legs flapping around like an evolutionary joke. Basilosaurus was so snake-like that early paleontologists thought it was a reptile, hence the misleading name. But no, it was a whale, a big, angry, meat-eating whale that you'd never want to meet while swimming. Fanjingshania renovata, the spiny shark imposter. Now, let's rewind 439 million years to meet Fanjingshania, one of the earliest jawed vertebrates. This creature looked like a small shark covered in spines. Not huge, about 25 centimeters long, but significant because it shows the origins of jaws and paired fins. Before this, most vertebrates were jawless blobs. Fanjingshania basically said, "Enough of that, time to bite stuff." Its body was armored with bony plates, and those spines probably discouraged predators. It wasn't the scariest thing in the sea, but it was a game changer. Without Fanjingshania and its friends, sharks, fish, and even humans wouldn't exist today. So yeah, this little spiky fish might not look terrifying, but it's one of the most important monsters on the list. It invented biting, and the rest is history. Archelon ischiros, the tank turtle. If modern turtles look cute, Archelon looked like a tank with flippers. This prehistoric giant sea turtle stretched up to 15 feet long, with a leathery shell and crushing jaws strong enough to snap through ammonite shells. It lived about 80 million years ago, gliding through the seas like an armored battleship. Unlike modern turtles with hard shells, Archelon's was leathery and flexible, helping it maneuver in open waters. Its sheer size meant few predators dared to mess with it, except mosasaurs. Because, of course, mosasaurs. Still, Archelon's bulk and armor made it one of the ocean's great survivors, the reptilian equivalent of a tank rolling down Main Street. If you saw one today, you'd probably mistake it for a small submarine, until it snapped your fishing boat in half. Titanochorus gainesi, the giant pancake predator. Titanochorus was basically a Cambrian Roomba of death. It had a flat, pancake-shaped body over 20 inches long, making it one of the giants of its time. It belonged to the same group as Lirarapax, with spiny claws and a circular mouth full of teeth. But instead of being sleek, Titanochorus looked like a prehistoric armored blanket. It would cruise along the seafloor, vacuuming up prey with its spiny appendages. If you were a worm, Titanochorus was your worst nightmare. An alien pancake descending from above. Its design makes no sense by today's standards, but in the Cambrian seas, it was top predator material. Proof that sometimes the weirdest shapes win. Websteroprion armstrongi, the demon worm. This one comes straight from your nightmares. Websteroprion was a giant worm with jaws up to half a meter long. Yes, jaws, as in sharp, serrated teeth hidden inside a worm's throat. It lived about 400 million years ago, lurking in burrows on the sea floor. When prey swam by, Websteroprion lunged out, clamping down with its massive jaws before dragging victims back underground. Basically, it was the original grab-you-from-the-shadows monster. Think of the sandworms from Dune, but pocket-sized. Well, nightmare pocket-sized. If you hate worms already, congratulations. Websteroprion just made them worse. Lanternfish, the flashlight of the abyss. If the deep sea had streetlights, they'd be made of lanternfish. These tiny, silver-scaled swimmers are the unsung stars of the ocean's midnight zone, literally. Covering nearly 65% of all deep-sea fish biomass, lanternfish are nature's disco balls, covered in photophores, light-producing organs that twinkle in perfect patterns. To us, it's mesmerizing. To them, it's life or death. Lanternfish use their light for everything: camouflage, communication, and romance. By glowing on their bellies, they perform counter-illumination, matching the faint light filtering from above so predators below can't see their silhouette. It's stealth by sparkle, and every night, billions of lanternfish migrate upward from the depths to feed, the largest migration on Earth. Imagine the entire ocean shimmering as an army of tiny headlights ascends through the dark. It's beautiful, eerie, and unseen by human eyes. They even have synchronized glow patterns by species, turning entire swarms into floating constellations. NASA once joked that if the ocean were drained, the glowing trails of lanternfish would look like the Milky Way flipped upside down. They're small, but without them, the deep ocean would go dark, literally and ecologically. The lanternfish proves that in the deep sea, the best camouflage might just be shining your light. Black dragonfish, the glow-in-the-dark monster. The black dragonfish looks like it crawled straight out of a deep-sea horror movie. Long, snake-like, and armed with needle teeth. But the real nightmare? It makes its own light, including red light. Most deep-sea creatures can only produce or see blue and green light because those wavelengths travel furthest underwater. The dragonfish breaks that rule. It evolved a unique chemical system that lets it glow red, an invisible wavelength to most other animals. It's basically using night vision goggles in reverse, shining red beams only it can see, turning the ocean into its private hunting ground. This deadly stealth tech lets it spot prey without being seen, the deep-sea equivalent of using infrared goggles to stalk a buffet. Females grow up to 40 centimeters long, males only 5. Evolution clearly picked favorites. And get this, their stomachs are transparent, so when they swallow glowing prey, the light doesn't give them away. It's like eating glow sticks, but making sure your stomach doesn't glow after. The black dragonfish isn't just weird, it's tactical genius. A ghost predator that hunts with invisible light, blending terror and beauty in a single flicker. Luciferin-fueled jelly, the Lucy horticaloo. Few names sound as whimsical or mysterious as Lucy horticaloo, the shorthand for a jellyfish species that turns its entire body into a pulsing light show. This creature uses luciferin, a light-producing molecule shared by many glowing animals, and it's what gives fireflies and deep-sea creatures their glow. But Lucy horticaloo, a name used to refer to the Atolla genus jelly, doesn't just glow. It performs a full strobe show. When attacked, it releases pulses of light in a circular pattern that spirals out like a bioluminescent SOS signal. Scientists call this the burglar alarm effect. The idea is simple. When a predator attacks the jelly, it lights up to attract bigger predators, like yelling, "Hey everyone, free snack over here." It's the deep-sea version of calling in an airstrike on your attacker. The glow lasts long after the jelly has drifted away, leaving the confused predator caught in the spotlight. In essence, Lucy horticaloo isn't just glowing for beauty, it's weaponized light, survival through spectacle. The next time you see a glowing jellyfish, remember, it's not showing off. It's fighting for its life in the prettiest way possible. Firefly, the backyard alchemist. The firefly might seem ordinary, but its biochemistry is extraordinary. That little flicker you see on summer nights? It's pure chemistry, luciferin and luciferase, combining with oxygen and magnesium to create cold, green-yellow light. No heat, no energy loss. If humans could do this efficiently, we'd never pay for electricity again. Fireflies use their light for one main purpose: love. Each species has its own flashing rhythm, a language of light signals to attract mates. Some males even mimic other species' flashes to lure females closer, only for those females to eat them instead. Love hurts, and sometimes it glows. And get this, one species, Phytinus pyralis, uses its glow to warn predators that it tastes horrible, a trick borrowed by toxic frogs and caterpillars. That's right, fireflies are both poets and scam artists. Across cultures, they've symbolized souls, fairies, or sparks of life, but scientifically, they represent efficiency, the pinnacle of biological light. Fireflies prove that even the most delicate beauty can have evolutionary bite. Fire beetle, the eternal glower. If fireflies are flickering poets, fire beetles are industrial-grade lanterns. Their light organs glow continuously, not in pulses, thanks to specialized photosites that emit steady bioluminescence. They don't flash to flirt, they glow to warn. Found mostly in tropical forests, these beetles use light to signal toxicity. Predators learned quickly, glowing beetle equals bad taste. Some species even emit infrared light, invisible to us, but bright in the insect world. Unlike fireflies, fire beetles glow from their thorax and abdomen simultaneously, creating the illusion of headlights, hence their nickname, headlight beetles. Ancient explorers reportedly used jars of them as natural lamps, though that might be more legend than fact. The bioluminescent reaction inside them, luciferin and luciferase, again, is so efficient that scientists have studied it for medical imaging and diagnostics. The fire beetle is nature's glow stick that never goes out, a steady reminder that light can mean love, warning, or, in this case, don't eat me or you'll regret it. Railroad worm, the neon caterpillar. Nature occasionally builds something so ridiculous it looks cyberpunk. Meet the railroad worm, a beetle larva covered in glowing spots that run down its sides. Green on the body, red on the head, making it look like a tiny train lit up at night. The secret weapon? It can produce 2 colors of light at once, something almost no other bioluminescent animal can do. Each light is controlled independently, so it can flash its head red while keeping its sides green, confusing predators. Scientists call this the dual wavelength defense. I call it mood lighting. The red light is especially weird because few animals can even see it, meaning the worm can signal secretly to its own kind while staying invisible to others. It lives underground or under bark, glowing faintly until it matures into a dull adult beetle that can't glow at all. Imagine being born as a living neon sign, only to turn into a boring insect. Evolution giveth and taketh away. Green bomber worm, the deep sea's glitter grenade. If the Dagalite shrimp throws flashbangs, the green bomber worm drops glowing grenades. Found in deep Pacific waters, this marine worm defends itself by releasing glowing green spheres that float upward like drifting Christmas ornaments. Each one glows for minutes, distracting predators while the worm escapes. These light bombs are actually modified gill structures, detachable organs designed purely for bioluminescent defense. When threatened, the worm contracts its body, launching the spheres like glowing ink. It's one of the few examples of a creature weaponizing detachable body parts that double as glow bombs. Deep-sea scientists adore them. They look like the ocean's version of fairy dust. In a realm of perpetual blackness, the green bomber worm uses art as armor. It proves that bioluminescence isn't just communication, it's choreography, a literal performance of survival. Jellyfish, the eternal glow of the ocean. The jellyfish is evolution's screensaver, simple, hypnotic, and glowing. Species like Equirrhea victoria are famous for producing green fluorescent protein, GFP, the same molecule that revolutionized modern biology. Scientists use it to make glowing cells, fluorescent mice, even to track cancer growth. But in the wild, bioluminescent jellyfish use light for everything from defense to communication. Some pulse in waves, others burst in sudden flashes to startle predators. The process is elegantly simple. Calcium ions trigger a chemical reaction involving luciferin, luciferase, and the protein equirin, releasing blue or green light. It's one of the most efficient energy conversions in nature. To predators, a jellyfish's flash might mean, "Don't eat me." To humans, it means Nobel Prizes. The same jellyfish drifting through the dark sea helped unlock the glowing secrets of life itself. Evolution's most alien creature ended up illuminating our own biology. Moxia, the living spark. The moxia, a deep-sea amphipod, is one of the smallest bioluminescent crustaceans ever found, and arguably one of the strangest. Barely a centimeter long, it glows so brightly when disturbed that it can light up an entire petri dish. The glow comes from luciferin-based reactions. But here's the twist. It can control where the light appears. When attacked, Moxia directs its glow from specific body segments, creating the illusion of motion or multiple individuals. Think of it as the ocean's first hologram projector. The ability to move its light points independently makes it nearly impossible for predators to tell which part is real. In short, Moxia is a creature that outsmarts death with light choreography. Scientists studying it have compared its survival tactics to fighter jets deploying flares. The difference? Moxia does it on instinct and in total darkness. It's fragile, elusive, and beautiful. Proof that size doesn't matter when your entire body can become a weaponized light show. Fungi, the glowing forest ghosts. It's not just animals that glow, mushrooms do too. Over 80 species of fungi emit a soft green light, especially in tropical rainforests. This glow, called foxfire, has been described since ancient times. Aristotle himself wrote about glowing wood in the 4th century BCE. The reason? It's still debated. Some scientists think the light attracts insects that help spread spores. Others think it's just a byproduct of metabolism. Either way, the glow comes from a luciferin luciferase system similar to fireflies. In pitch-dark forests, the sight is haunting. Logs dotted with eerie green light like fallen stars. During wartime, soldiers in the trenches use glowing fungi to read maps, calling it foxfire lanterns. Nature's oldest bioluminescence might not live in the ocean, but in the woods. A reminder that light has always been life's most universal language. Blackbelly lantern shark, the glowing predator. The blackbelly lantern shark might be small, but it's armed with stealth technology that would make the military jealous. This shark glows from its belly using thousands of photophores, creating an effect called counter-illumination camouflage. In the dim light of the deep sea, shadows can give predators away. By glowing just enough to match the faint light above, the lantern shark erases its outline completely. Prey looking up see nothing but empty water. It's the aquatic equivalent of an invisibility cloak. But the shark doesn't stop there. It also uses light to communicate. Specific glow patterns may help individuals identify one another in the darkness. Some species even glow differently depending on sex. It's eerie, precise, and efficient. The shark doesn't chase, it ambushes from invisibility. Evolution designed it like a living stealth bomber, glowing just enough to disappear. The black-belly lantern shark proves that in the deep, the only way to survive the dark is to master it. If you've watched to this point, slam that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. This helps us to rank better in the YouTube algorithm.